Okay, we're recording. Hi, everybody. Camille here. For some of you, you may be noticing, if you're watching us on video, that this is the very first video recording of Paleo, Love, and Transformation. For those of you listening through iTunes on the podcast, if you are interested in seeing our beautiful mugs for the duration of this interview, you can head on over to my YouTube channel. That's Recipe RX. So without further ado, welcome to this episode. My guest today is a very unique character.
Thank you.
It's so weird because you're actually right there smiling. Normally you're just sitting quietly on the voice. Mike. Oh, I lost your phonetic. Wait, no, don't tell me. Okay. Michael Hrostoski is the men's coach. That's a really bold title.
Yeah, it is.
You're not a men's coach, you're the men's coach.
I am the men's coach.
I love it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Mike. Mike helps high-performing men master their relationships with their women and their work. And he is on a mission to make the world a better place, one man at a time. Mike left a lucrative career in human resources in December of 2011 and took a full year off to do the things that filled him with joy. After spending 2012 doing hundreds of hours of pro bono coaching and traveling 12,000 miles across the United States doing volunteer work on a summer volunteer road trip, he launched his coaching business and operates it from all over the world. He has been location independent since February of 2012 and has spent the first half of 2013 across 3 continents, 6 countries, and dozens of cities. Wow. I was going to say you're like a modern day Tim Ferriss, but Tim Ferriss is also still around. So. Yeah. Anyway, hi.
Hey, what's up?
How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for letting me be your guinea pig on the video.
Yeah, you're my guinea pig. Oh, so I want to tell the listeners how we came to meet. Can I do that?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm going to leave links for this, but we have a mutual friend, Jolie Pinkerton. And she is just this awesome, amazing spirit. And she is hosting an event for those of you who live in San Diego. It's called Inner Goddess Unleashed. And I think it's October 12th. Mm-hmm. Yeah, on October 12th. It's free. And Mike was the brave soul who will be there's 6 women speaking and I think 1 man. And so Jolie told me about you. And I went and checked out your website, and I just went from speaking from third person to first person. And I was like, wow, this guy, he is a fascinating character. And I've been really interested in the topics that you coach on for some time. And I don't know, it's so weird. Do I talk to you? Do I talk to the audience? Anyway.
Whatever feels comfortable.
I think I'm going to be going back and forth. Anyway, it's so weird actually seeing the person. Anyway, so I went to Mike's website and I loved it. I'm going to leave links for you guys. But if you're interested in like the most authentic man blog I've ever read, it's very raw. It's very real. You will absolutely love it, men and women alike. So I just was instantly enamored by the words coming off of the page. And so I reached out to him. And of course, he was jet setting somewhere and said, yeah, I'll catch back up with you when I'm back on the continent. And so he did. And then it turned out that he was going to be in San Diego the next day. So he said, why don't you come hang out? And so I actually got to hang out with Mike all last weekend. And so now we're friends. And here he is. Here you are.
And here we are. So yeah, thank you for those words. So.
Yeah. So let's do this. I want to hear oh yeah, I'm the interviewer.
What do you want to know?
I want to know everything about you. I want to know, the way that we usually start out these episodes is by hearing your story. Certainly, you have been through a transformation for yourself in the area of, becoming a boy to becoming a man that has led you to now give your life in service to other men on that journey. So I'd love to first hear about your journey.
Yeah, so the real, I think there's two big things in my life. So one, I was raised like really strict, really religious, a lot of rules. So I started lying at a pretty early age to my parents, and not because I was like a bad person. I wanted to keep their love, and so I sort of I built up a habit of lying when I was pretty young. I think 13, 14, 15, just like hanging out with kids who didn't go to the same church, or like if I had a girlfriend or drank a beer. And if you start any habit and you just start to do it more, it just becomes a way of life. So I would say in my teens and early 20s, I was just like a borderline, like pathological liar, very manipulative. I'm pretty high like IQ and EQ, so I was able to like just manipulate my way into just like getting things done, and just very selfish. And I
Did you get caught ever?
I got, that's a great question. I got caught stealing once at a department store. I stole a bunch of clothes, and then I went back the next day to return a sweatshirt because I accidentally ripped it playing basketball. And the lady was like, "You stole a bunch of clothes yesterday," and I just like handed the sweatshirt and ran out.
Wait, you were returning a stolen sweatshirt?
No, I bought some clothes and I stole a whole bunch others. And so yeah, I was just a bad kid, um, and it's funny, like as I look back into my life, like I can like a exercise I do with my clients who have shame or guilt around who they used to be, whether it's like a drug addict or an alcoholic, is, like, can you be as loving and compassionate to your former self as possible? So using that lens, being as loving and compassionate to my former self, like I was just a boy who wanted to be loved and who wanted to feel significant, and who didn't have like the financial means to like buy nice stuff,
And you wanted it.
yeah, and I wanted it, and I just didn't have a lot of like mentorship, and yeah, so I did what I had to. And but somewhere around in my mid 20s, I really started to get it, and just through some various life events, just realized that, oh yeah, this integrity thing like really makes life easier. And I just sort of made a commitment to just be just super in integrity and be impeccable with my word. And like all that stress and like the BS just like got pushed off to the side, and this life got really easy. And I've been refining that more and more and more as I've gotten older. And that's really the basis of my coaching program. It's just helping guys get really on point with just everything that comes out of their mouth, like being really on purpose. I heard this I was in San Francisco for Pam Slim's Creative Live, and they were talking about sales, and they said, a yes is good and a no is good, but maybe will kill you. And and so much of my coaching is like getting guys like from maybe to yes or no, like, like maybe I'll start this business, like maybe I'll break up with my girlfriend,
Sitting on the fence is really painful. Yeah.
So maybe I'll lose weight. So I really got in integrity with my word, and that's a huge part of who I am, and like my whole essence of my coaching practice. And
has that been, sorry to interrupt you, but has that been an ongoing struggle? I know for me, and I think for people, sometimes you have these transformations that just happen and stick, and you don't ever look back. And sometimes it's the kind of thing that lingers and wants to pop back up. Is that like solid and real and stuck for you, or do you still struggle with the lying or with any of those former behaviors?
So the good news is now, like I have this awareness around just being impeccable with my word. So I catch myself. I don't do huge lies anymore, but recently I was on the phone, or probably a month or two ago, I was on the phone with a friend, and I was like, all right, dude, like, I'm gonna jump in the shower. And then I hung up, and I was like, wait, I'm not gonna jump in the shower.
I just wanted to get off.
I just wanted to get off. So just having that awareness has helped.
Did you tell him? Call him back
No,
up?
no, it's like, hey, sorry, dude, I lied to you. I just didn't want to talk to you anymore. But the only time there's definitely times when it's hard, and as like I'm playing on a bigger and bigger scale, like with my just the events that I'm doing and coaching, and there's some really tough decisions sometimes where I have to really think about like what's going to be the best choice, like for the sake of all beings, like when throwing an event on capacity. Like a simple example was like I threw an after party at World Domination Summit, and the capacity was like 200 tickets, and that was the size of the venue, and we sold out, and like probably we could have had another several hundred people. Like everyone wanted to go to the party, and I wrote about it on my blog, and it's like we could have made a ton more money. We could have packed people in there, but right, for the sake of all beings, like if I had a bunch of people in there and it wasn't a safe environment, or like if it was really crowded, or how would I choose? I could also like only let my friends in, and but then like would that be fair to the other people in line? So we held fast our commitment of these are the tickets that we sold, and this is really like who we can let into it. And I think for all of us, like as we grow our businesses, and as we grow as human beings, like there will be those points where just for some reason, like you just have to make a tough decision. And I guess the sentence that I put at the end of everything is for the sake of all beings. So like, is this blog post for the sake of all beings? Like, am I, is the way I'm showing up in this relationship with this friend? And so, sometimes I have to make some really tough choices, and sometimes I have to say no. And sometimes I have to say no to people who I love, or like the people who got me to where I'm at. But it's just to be like really on purpose with what I'm doing with my business and in my life, and to show up as like my biggest, brightest, like boldest self, full of energy. Like I've been saying no and no more for the sake of serving the world.
Yeah. So okay, so going back, we're still talking about your story.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a huge shift for you in transitioning to manhood, and that you brought in your coaching. What about what you're a relationship coach? What were your relationships like? What were the big things that shifted for you? And talk about that.
Yeah, so I was really shy when I was young. I'm half Japanese, and I spoke Japanese as my first language till I was 5. And Japanese as a culture, like we're very kind of submissive and very deferential, and a little more reserved and introverted. So I was painfully shy as a child, and I was also really overweight. And in middle school, I got a Nintendo, I think the summer of 3rd grade, and I gained like 30 pounds, and it's funny because I remember it was like a contest. I was like eating as much as possible, and when I hit, I distinctly remember hitting like 100 pounds, and I was like triple digits. So I was overweight.
Were you playing Super Mario Brothers?
Yes, a lot of hours of Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, my mom wouldn't let me have one, but we would get to rent them sometimes, and my thumb pads would actually start bleeding from playing so much.
Yeah,
it was bad news.
So,
but you were like reaching a new level, like woo woo, 100 pounds, level 14.
Level 14, third grader.
Oh, no.
So shy, overweight, and also kind of growing up Christian, where you have this godly fear, or you're afraid of girls because you're afraid of like doing bad things, like having sex, or like you should
thoughts.
having sex, or yeah, or just, you know, you shouldn't be dating unless you're ready for marriage. So even as a senior in high school, so I fell into weightlifting, I think freshman or sophomore year, and just really started lifting a lot. And I was a competitive power lifter for a bit, and I'm pretty much like my size now, like 6'2", 215 in high school. And my friends would make fun of me because like, Mike, you are the biggest dude in school, and a girl talks to you, and you become like a 7-year-old. Like I was so shy. I couldn't look a woman in the eyes. I couldn't. Girls would ask me out to prom and stuff, and I was so lame, and I'd come up with excuses, and so just it was a huge pain point for me, and just women terrified me, and so I think how that showed up in my partnerships and my relationships is most of my first girlfriends were more of like a more masculine.
I
Like
say they were the boss.
yeah, they were sort of the type that like just she grabbed my hand and sort of like, you're gonna be my boyfriend, and I was like, all right, sure, just don't hurt me.
Don't hurt me.
So those were more of the first women that I dated, and probably most of the women who I dated up until very recently, and until I started getting more into men's work and like the masculinity work, and just really just like really stepping up and starting to lead and just like owning like my space as a man. And yeah, and my relationships now with I did a ton of work. So the reason I can coach men around love, sex, and intimacy is like I've completely screwed up in every way possible. Like I've cheated, and I've had like all sorts, you know, like sexual issues, and just like anything that a guy throws at me, I'm like, oh yeah, dude. So I've so been there. Like let's talk about that. And I turned it from a total pain point to now I coach and I give workshops on attraction and confidence and sexuality. And I think for a lot of us, a lot of coaches and sort of like purpose-driven entrepreneurs, it's the pain and the trauma that we went through in our youth that allows us to serve the world, and like and it's our journey. Like those are the gems, and that's what we bring to our practice. And
Yeah, we teach what we need to learn.
mhm. Yeah, so really, yeah, I really just teach guys who are like one or two steps behind me, and just sort of take them through the process of like becoming more confident, or um, developing really deep partnerships with women that are less kind of surface area, and opening up their hearts, like kind of like opening up their hearts to love, because for some reason they might have had to shut their heart off when they were young, because their their childhood might have been unsafe, or their dad might have told them to not cry because boys don't cry, or they might have been made fun of on the playground because they were crying. And so I make a lot of guys cry. I get paid really good money to make guys cry. But there's it's so big for a man to have an open heart. Like it's just like I feel everything. I like to say I'm living in full HD. So when I'm sad, I cry. But when I'm happy, I'm really happy, and I'm feeling the full richness of life in every moment. And I really wasn't in my youth, and I was using food or drugs or alcohol or sex or something to like self medicate, and now I feel, and life is just really amazing, and like food tastes better, sex is better, like things are more beautiful. When I walk outside, I'm like, oh my gosh, mountains and trees, like just things like literally seem brighter. And I think that's just because I'm just giving myself permission to feel and experience.
Yeah, I think that from my experience, I would say, I mean, for people, but really for a lot of men is going. I think I actually heard this. I was listening to part of your Google Hangout the other night. Just the journey from your head to your heart for a man is the longest journey you'll ever make. But that's what, you see, especially for so many men. I mean, they're so locked up in their heads and the logic and how they think things should be. And when you meet somebody or something really comes to want to penetrate your heart, those feelings, emotion is really terrifying to most men. Is that valid? Would you
Mm,
say?
yeah, either terrifying or they judge it. They view emotion as weakness,
Hmm.
just because they're taught just to hold it together and to be a man, and so they sort of have this like steel trap around their heart, or these shells around their heart, um, and then it's so I I use this metaphor a lot, like not giving yourself permission to feel your emotions. Like it's like not pooping, like ever, and it's just it's a natural process. Like it's a natural process of your body, and when you're literally like stuffing emotions like back into your body,
Hmm.
and I think sometimes people are afraid that like, oh no, like if I feel these emotions, like it's gonna hurt me or it's
Well,
gonna
it'll
kill
kill you. Yeah, I think the experience,
me.
that's even still the experience for me sometimes is, you these feelings come up that you may not have felt ever or in a really long time, or the feeling is associated with pain.
Hmm.
For a lot of people, especially, for me, I didn't have I didn't have an amazing relationship with my stepdad growing up, and we have whatever things are locked in place of, like, when I felt this feeling, it was accompanied by this pain. And so now, even though it can be totally irrational, that feeling starts to come up again, and it's automatically associated with that pain. And it's totally irrational, but that's just the connection either way.
Hmm. Yeah, and what's funny is that people think, oh, like if I feel this emotion, it's going to kill me, but it's actually the opposite. Like if you don't feel your emotions, it'll kill you. Like
Yeah.
it'll somatize into illness or ulcers or cancer or just like imagine carrying around like that heavy, dark, like black, like yuck. And I have clients, who they've literally been carrying stuff around since their childhood, and they're
Hmm.
in their 30s and 40s, and they release it, and afterwards it's like they can breathe for the first time, and they feel lighter. um, so yeah, it's like do you want to carry around like the pain that happened to you 20, 30 years ago, or do you want to go into it and like burn it up and really experience it fully, let it burn up, and then let it pass and move on with your life.
Yeah. So for men who are listening who may be at a place where they haven't done this work, and there is an interest in going there, and and knowing that they still have all of these things bottled up, what would you say to them? What kind of encouragement would you say to have them be willing to take that journey into that release and into your heart? And I mean, you've sort of been doing it, but what would you say to them who may be terrified still of that process?
Yeah, just allow yourself to go there, and it's really not work that you can do alone. So it's having a coach or a therapist or a men's group,
Hmm.
um, having some sort of like sacred space to just go really deep into some of the stuff. Even so, if you were going to do it on your own, even journaling, just journaling or writing or like talking out loud, or
And
there's.
looking in the mirror. I've done
Mhm.
some powerful mirror work
Yeah,
that
yeah,
helps. Yeah.
yeah. Mirror work is.
But none of it is the same as being in community and being able to speak those things that I know for me, when you come to be able to speak those things that you have this idea are possibly really bad, and actually none of the things really are that bad. And I know that's a lot of the work that you do with men is, you have these things, the shame inside of you, and you think that, wow, if I just spoke who I really am and the things I'm really afraid of, then I won't be accepted, I'll be abandoned, I'll be thought of as a freak, and that it's the opposite. And it's in the doing of that work, in speaking those fears and having people stand alongside of you and say, hey, we're all the same. And that thing that you think is so dirty is really just part of being human. I think that's why this work it is so important to do it in community.
Yeah. Yeah. So going, I've never been to Landmark, but like going to something like Landmark. I've been through there's a nonprofit called the Mankind Project, and the Mankind Project, they host these weekend workshops.
It's a nonprofit? I didn't know it was a nonprofit.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it's a nonprofit, and they do this weekend workshop called the New Warrior Training Adventure, which is the equivalent of like a modern day rite of passage ceremony.
Oh, cool.
And really, really powerful work. I went through it about a year ago. It had a huge, profound impact on my life, and just a great, really great organization of men trying to support other men.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll leave links for that. I didn't realize it was a nonprofit. How often do they do them?
So they do them all over the country. So they have these weekend. Like, I don't want to use the term retreat. So it's an experience. Like it's really heavy work, but afterwards people come out and like they look different. Like I've had friends do the weekend and afterwards. So I just on our show last week, my buddy Max from innergladiator.com, he just did his weekend, and I told him, like, dude, like you look different. You're glowing. Like the whites of his eyes are whiter, and just I and I had just talked to him, I don't know, a couple weeks prior. So it's like when you do that heavy work and like release stuff, it literally sort of like purifies the body. Like you're just not carrying that stuff around anymore.
That's the whole thing behind the School of Inner Beauty is that.
Yeah. So crying is awesome, and it's like, and not feeling your feelings will kill you. So just give yourself permission to feel, even if it's kind of scary.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. I have a list of questions. So was there anything more that you want to say about your journey into manhood and how that's impacted your work?
So I guess there are three things. I should know this since I do a lot of speaking and interviews. But so integrity. I was terrified of women, and then two years ago, my mom passed away unexpectedly in her sleep. And for me, that was just this huge turning point and catalyst in my life, because it was the first loss that I ever really experienced. So I had a really good run. I was lucky. I made it to 30 years old without really losing someone that I was really, really close to. And when that happened, I really started to get conscious about my life. It's like, what would I do if money wasn't an issue? Or what would I do if I won the lottery? Or, it's like, how would I live my life if I had a month to live? And I just started living life like that. And that's why I left my corporate job, and I took a whole summer, like 94 days, with my brother David to do volunteer work all over America last summer. Just because it's like if I won the lottery, it's like I would want to travel and volunteer and spend time with my brother, and like that's just what we did. And I started doing a ton of coaching, and it was a lot of pro bono coaching. But then that really built my skills as a coach, and I got a lot better. And like it's funny because like people would probably think I had this like master plan of becoming the men's coach and building all this social capital, but I was just like really in pain, and like my mom died, and like all I wanted to do was like be happy and do stuff that makes me happy, and that's what I did. And organically, I built a huge network, and I just had the most incredible life experiences, and yeah, so death is actually, it's a big part of my coaching too. Like I talk to men about it. I'll I'll do exercises like, if you had a month to live, what would you do? And they'll list things off. Like and they're very emotional. Like I'd tell my dad and tell him I love him. I'd tell my girlfriend just like how beautiful she is. I'd call my buddy John, who like we haven't talked in 3 years, and just tell him I forgive him. It's like I'd have a huge party for all my friends, and they're listing stuff, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll say, all right, well, your homework for the next call is to like do as much of that stuff as possible. And yeah, so death is like death is one of my like greatest teachers, and I think when you can really like meditate upon it and sit upon it and realize that like, yeah, we're gonna die. Just a lot of it's like the bullshit that we like worry about and think about just like doesn't matter at all. And so like the more that I think about death, the more that like the less concerned I am about what people think about me, or like what about having the perfect Instagram filter for my picture of my breakfast. Like just like there's so much crap that just doesn't matter. And like what does matter is love and growth and contribution and like leaving something behind bigger than myself. And so yeah, those are probably like the three big things that make me like the man who I am, and are a big part of my coaching practice, are just my own struggles with integrity, and my own pain points with like completely being terrified of and not understanding women at all. And then the passing of my mother, and just like really, really getting conscious about life, and just like not wasting a minute of any day.
Yeah, I love it. So, wow, well, we've actually answered a lot of the questions just in the sharing of your story. So let's talk a little bit about, so is with your work with male-female relationships, is that grounded in, is it David Dita? How do you say his last name? Dita? Dita?
Yeah,
Dita?
so I mean, I've studied with David Data. He's just
Data, okay.
he's a thought leader on spirituality and sexuality, and
Is that the foundation of your work with women? Like if we talk to, he does a lot of stuff with male female polarity. Have you have you morphed that into your own, or do you mostly do his work?
yeah, that's I would say like there's a heavy influence of that, but I also take I was trained by Martha Beck, like I was in her life coach training program, so I take a lot of the tools from that. I like Alison Armstrong's work a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're a big Alison Armstrong fan.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's my life experience too. Like right now, some of my greatest teachers are like the women in my life. Like I'm I've been in partnership, like, for the past, I'd say couple years, like the women that I've dated are just on just a whole nother level, and they're incredible. And they call me out on my stuff, and they ask for what they want, and they lovingly like help me show up better. And there's just a ton of communication. So yeah, I'd say right now my greatest teacher is just like me being out there and dating really, really amazing women, or just like having friendships. Like I have some friends, like women who I say I love you to, who like we never have and never will. Well, I don't want to say we never will. Who knows? Maybe we'll date in the future, but but there's a number of women who I can get on the phone with and give them a call, and we'll just talk shop for like an hour or two, and they're like really, really high level relationship coaches, and we'll just sort of just hone our craft together. So I'm really lucky that I have some amazing women in my life just to bounce ideas off of, and to go really deep about sex, or like really deep about love, or really deep about just all of the intricacies of relationships. So yeah, those are my greatest teachers right now. But yeah, David Data's work has definitely influenced me a lot, and the book The Way of the Superior Man, I've recommended it to like at least 100 guys. And
yeah, I've read it. It was it's powerful.
Yeah,
It's confronting as a woman.
is.
Yeah.
yeah, confronting, kind of powerful. Like it's a book that sort of like the feeling of being punched in the chest, like, oh my God, like this is like just the truth of things, and um, just like so many like truth bombs in there, and yeah, so his work's definitely influenced my work a lot.
Okay, so given all of that, we've I'd love to leave both men and women. I mean, this really, most of my listeners are women, but for me, it's just been mostly this year where I've started to understand anything about men. And it's still mostly in my head. And even anything really about women that is created as opposed to just like a reaction, from the past. So break down for us as I remember this really resonating or hitting me actually in reading Way of the Superior Man was the lack of polarity between men and women, and how that really has caused a lot of divorce, and we just end up having depolarized relationships, and the damage of that. So if you can just explain that a little bit more, because for me it was like I got it intuitively once he said it, but I'd never thought of it that way before. If you could just explain that, and then talk about what it is and then what it could be
Yeah, so
between men and women.
yeah, so what it is. So current state, there's a lot of relationships where just like the guy's afraid to like hurt her feelings, and the woman's afraid to ask for what they want, and they don't talk about real issues, and but they're around each other all the time. Like they just kind of like sit and watch TV when they get home, maybe play on their laptops together. They're always around each other, and they're and that spark that they first had, like when they went on that first date, like it's just like the spark's gone, and and instead of like that really passionate type love, it's like they're like roommates who occasionally like rub genitals together, and so that's the current state of of a good number of relationships.
Well, and even I think what I noticed for myself is you end up having, and you spoke about this a little bit just in your story of, and not that there is a way that every man needs to be and a way that every woman needs to be, because some women can healthfully have more masculine energy and vice versa, but um, that depolarization where the woman is taking on more of the man role and the masculine energy, and then the man by default, or you know just that energy imbalance. Can you say a little more about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, so women are becoming just more and more powerful. There's women are doing the work like in droves. So like Oprah's like the personal development channel. It's like I go to conferences, and like most coaches are predominantly female. Like a lot of you go to places where just like really conscious people hang out, and there's just a lot of women. Or there's men, but they're more like the more feminine, like the yoga guy, which like I kind of used to be, and and um, and and I think just even being a man has been sort of vilified, or that sort of like wild man, caveman part of us that is a really valid part of being a man, and it's something that when we shut that off, like when we shut off our sexual desire, or like when we have sexual shame, or when we shut off like that rah, like that sort of like killer type energy, then we are just like just a smaller version of ourselves. Um, some of the work I do with guys is like it's like grunting and like rah, and like really getting and just like helping them get that male energy back in their body, and because it is something that delights women when used skillfully.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the thing I was just thinking though. I think it's probably for a lot of men, it feels, I was actually thinking for myself today, sometimes I feel like a hose that has a ton of water and pressure shooting through it and all of this energy, but not always knowing how to direct it. And
Hmm.
that's what it seems like it is for a lot of men. And then maybe, they shoot it in the wrong direction a couple times, and then they're like, oh, this didn't work, I need to shut it down. But like being able to the pictorial analogy is very interesting to me right now. But teaching a man to be able to like really channel his masculine energy effectively.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's a perfect metaphor. So I love it's women, the emotional storm. It's like a hose going crazy,
Yeah,
or
that's me.
it's like the ocean. Feminine energy. It's constant movement. Like a really feminine woman, just like in every moment, like she's moving, like she's just in the flow of things. So. You can even think of it like as the water in a river, and the masculine energy, like it's the sides of the river. It's what keeps the river in. So
Ooh, I like that.
yeah, so as men, it's being more masculine. It's talking less. It's being more present. Like it's like really penetrating her with your presence. It's standing firm and staying with her intensity. Like when she's freaking out and when she's crying. I think sort of a typical male response, especially since we're afraid of emotions that we talked about, is, say like my partner's crying and freaking out or yelling at me. So a sort of typical male response might be like, you know what, like you're being crazy. I'm going to jump on my motorcycle and like go take a ride. Like you figure this shit out. Or I'm going to go in the man cave and play video games. Like it's like you're being a little kid right now. And for the women that feels like, oh, it's like, just you're letting me down, dude. So instead of that, just some of the coaching with men is to stay with her intensity, just to like walk up to her and like be really like be that rock and just like give her a hug and don't because most of the time when a woman's upset, like she's just not feeling loved or she's not feeling safe. So how can you make her feel loved and feel safe and feel beautiful and in every moment, like how can you open her up to love? um, but yeah, that's a lot of like the coaching that I do for men is just opening her up into love in every moment, like with your gaze, like with your touch, with your words. Um, I think people have this idea of, oh, once I get married, then it's just going to get boring. I've had relationships and they're never boring because like we're both just I'm dirty talking in the kitchen and like just and just it's like I take my partnership so seriously and so like I want to use it as a source of inspiration instead of like a burden or something that I have to do. So it's a choice. So it's a choice to like let that spark or like let that flame fan down in your relationship. And I know a lot of people, like at least a dozen examples of just really amazing partnerships, and people in their 30s, 40s, 50s who act like they're teenagers still, and it's beautiful. So it's definitely possible, but it's your choice to put that type of commitment into your partnership.
Yeah, that's been a pretty big inquiry for me this year because, well, I'm still investigating it. I definitely inherited the idea that I would get married and be with one person forever, and that was always something that my heart wanted. But then you you don't really see it remaining like you said. You see people maybe staying together, and in my heart, I know that wow, the places that you can go with another person if you go, when you have 10, 20, 30, 40 years under your belt can be phenomenal, to have the experience of being able to really partner with somebody for that long of a period. But then how do you do it in such a way that it remains a true growth experience for both of you, especially when, you're people like the people who listen to the show, the people that you coach. I mean, we want to have growing, we want our lives to continue to be expanding. And there's definitely a perception of being with one person forever is a contraction and not an expansion. And so it's nice to hear, even though we don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of examples, to hear that it is possible to really have these partnerships that continue to expand and expand and expand over time.
Yeah, so sometimes like I think sometimes people think, oh, they'll find growth in another partner or in traveling somewhere, but like there's a certain point where your biggest edge is to be with someone for 5 years or to be with someone for 10 years, because like like you've had a lot of partners, you've learned a lot of lessons. Like there's not much more to like learn in terms of whatever emotional intimacy or like sexual practice or communication. Like your biggest edge now is to like, can you do that day in, day out for a year, 3 years, 5 years, and continue to grow together and to continue to expand each other into like greater depths of love. And
so it's possible, but it's possible, says Mike.
Yeah, certainly.
Cool. So on that note, what would you say that men look for in women when you are looking for a potential life partner?
So I'll just speak for myself, because I'm not gonna like be the voice of all men. So for me, it is someone who is more soft, or like who is more radiant, who doesn't always have to be in control, and who's able to more just like go with the flow and like give me a chance to step up, to lead and to serve, and to like make her feel secure, and to make her feel safe. It's someone who's definitely committed to growth, because for me, I see my relationships as my greatest personal growth engine. To me, the answering questions like who do I want to partner with in life, and even deeper, like who do I want to create a human being with, like that's really heavy stuff. So to me, relationships are way more powerful in terms of personal growth than like building a business or like losing 50 pounds. Like that stuff's all important. But to me, like when I think of like the crazy growth of like the deepest work, and typically for most people that's in their relationships, because it's really deep stuff, like on love and birth and death. And so for me, someone who's continued to like growing with me, and also someone who's like very open, so like open to like new experiences or trying things, or even open with her thoughts and her emotions and her feelings, because for me it's all about just speaking my truth in every moment and being totally like transparent about like what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, and someone who's kind. I guess that's the last thing. Like I have very little tolerance for like nasty people in my life. Like I conceptually like can't even understand why people are mean. Like I mean I do. It's because they're in pain, and they're transferring their pain or trying to like dump their pain off to someone else. But at this point in my life, I only hang out with people who energize me and who make me feel good. And if someone's really draining on me, then I'll sort of cut them, out of my life, because I have really, really important work to do. And
you do very important work,
and as do you, and as does everyone listening right now. Like you are very important. Like if you're listening to my words right now, you're very important. The work that you do is very important, and you want people in your life who inspire you and who energize you and who push you to like new levels of success, instead of people who like drain you or like put you down or make you feel like shit anytime you're talking about making a change. because they're transferring their fear onto you.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot. We had a pre call for the School of Inner Beauty last night, and that's been a major thing that I've talked about that several times on my podcast, and we talked about with them is that, anytime you are making a commitment to being a bigger version of yourself than you've been, there's agreement in your life from, your current relationships to have you continue to be the way you've always been. And not everybody, some people are really going to stand for you getting bigger, even if it is confronting that to them. But like to really have the courage, I know you and I talked about this also this weekend, but to have the courage to let people go, even if you've been with them for a long time, even if they know you really well, that you're not, it's really, you are the product of the people that you spend your time with. And so to have the courage to let people go, it can be very, very hard, but it's essential.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily, you don't necessarily need to let people go forever, but you give them the choice as to whether they are going to rise up to the level you've gone to. And some of them will. Some of them will really surprise you. I think it's a really bad idea to say this person is this way and they will always be this way, because people can surprise you and they can change. And you may be the person by your, being steadfast to say, I'm not willing to be this person anymore. I'm not willing to have this in my life. You would be amazed. People will, not all, but there are people who will rise up because of your influence in their life. So I think that's really important.
Yeah. And hell yeah, for everyone listening right now. Yeah, just rise up and like love everyone for where they're at. Mm-hmm. Especially your partner, like especially your husband or your boyfriend or your wife or your girlfriend, like where they're at right now, it's like it's perfect, and if you make a conscious commitment, like it's only uphill from here, like you'll just only continue to grow together. So instead of wishing that your husband was more blank or that your wife was more blank, like just like that's causing suffering by going against like what the truth of things are in the moment. So
yeah,
it's like everyone in your life, like they're at the perfect point in their journey right now, and that's just the reality of things.
Yeah. So I have, okay, so I want to go back to something that you just said,
Cool.
and this is mostly for selfish reasons. So for me, and I know this is for a lot of women, and a lot of the women who are working with me now, is we have been in some ways forced to be more masculine just by, for me, I started financially taking care of myself when I was like 14, and
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to make a difference in the world and saw that possibility for myself. But the only energy or thing that I had access to was the more of that masculine energy, like go out and make things happen and take action and take charge. And that's what you see, because if you're someone who wants to make a difference, mostly you have men who are who are the role models. We don't have a lot of powerful women role models who are feminine. Most of the powerful female role models are also doing it with a pretty masculine energy. And so that's been a challenge for me, and that I've really begun to identify this year, is that it's really exhausting and not fun and not who I really am to always be in this, in this mode.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys that I have largely attracted in the past have been more feminine, and I've liked that because it is, that's what seems to go with a more masculine energy. But that's not really what I want. And I guess I'm trying to figure out what the question is. So
yeah, so you like because you like those guys because you're used to being in control, and
right, but that's not really what I want. But yeah, it's just always what I've been attracted to.
But then they're wimpy and they're spineless, and then you're like, oh my gosh, like this guy just is like doesn't do anything for me. Yeah.
Right. but then making the, wanting to be with a man who does have that masculine energy, that, like you said so beautifully, the river, and then the man being the container of that, to be able to be with a man who can actually rise up and be that masculine container requires a woman to be able to be submitted to that. And for a woman, I can just speak for myself. First of all, there's not a lot of men out there who can sort of match and then embrace or container my energy, and or that would, I'm just sort of processing this all as we go, but who are then even necessarily attracted to energy that is this big, sometimes masculine, but just this exuberance of energy that, that I bring. And not just me, but because there's a lot of women like that who have been in those patterns. I don't know. I'm trying to form a question. I don't know if you can pull a question from it. I guess okay, here's the question. What would you say to women like me who have been operating more in their masculine, who endeavor to operate more in their feminine, and then to be with a masculine, be able to be in partnership with a real man? And that, I feel, I didn't mean to say it like that.
No, yeah, I gotcha. Just like let go of the need to be in control of everything, and trust your, like, give your guy a chance to step up. Like, men like stepping up. Like we like being appreciated. We love to serve and to feel appreciated, and to provide and to protect, but if we're not given the chance, and if we're like emasculated in every moment, and if we feel, like, if my partner's like making me feel stupid all the time, or like, oh, you never do this or you never do that, or like, why you're so stupid, like, I'm not inspired to serve her at all. So I got this exercise from my friend Lisa Fabrega, who's one of the most powerful women's coaches I know, yet one of the most feminine as well. And she operates, I mean, very, very powerful woman, but she operates from that place of like flow and kind of like feminine radiance, which is, it's more of an energy of allowing. So it's more like yearning and more allowing, instead of striving and like being very, very direct. Because when two people are very direct with each other, like, that's a fight, or that's an argument. Like when masculine energy like meets masculine energy, like that's like a war or a fight or an argument or a fist fight. But if instead of, so a simple example is like, instead of telling your husband, like, like you need to do this more, you need to do this more, as an exercise, just try and not complain for a week, like just a week. You're not allowed to complain, and instead, like, praise him for all the things that he does for you, and he does a lot. And there's probably moments where like you look at him, and like in the back of your head, you're just like, man, like, I really love that guy. Like I really appreciate him for doing this. Just like, start speaking that truth. Give more praise, more positive reinforcement. Like, use words like appreciate. Like, I really appreciate you, like, working overtime today, and I really appreciate the way that that you put your arm around me when that car came. Like, I felt really safe. I really appreciate you being present with me during dinner. Like, I love that you weren't on your iPhone. And anytime like we get that kind of appreciation or praise, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to do more of it. Because we, believe it or not, like, we want to make you feel good. Like, we want to make you feel happy. Like, for us to be able to delight you makes us super happy, and it makes us feel like we're doing a good job, so to speak. So the more that we're able to know, like, how to delight you and how to make you feel good, and and going in, I do a lot of coaching around sexual practice. So in the bedroom, what that looks like is saying, like, I love the way you do this, or if he's doing something that feels really good, like, just express pleasure, either in your body by moving or making sounds, or by just saying, oh my, like, it feels, you know, great, or I love the way you do that, because that will just inspire us to, like, do that more, or to be more, to do more of that. So we're not mind readers, so we if you don't give us hints on how you want to be served, or how you want to be loved, or how you want to be spoken to, then we're probably not going to be able to just figure it out on our own. And instead of doing like that direct, like, you need to do this, just say, positively reinforce, like, what's the many ways that he is amazing. And then, instead of, and another way to ask for something is like, I love when we go out to dinner, or just like, I really love when we go ice skating, or just, I love when you rub the back of my neck, like, it feels so good. Then he'll probably be inspired to do that. So just in general, like, softness, like, soft surrender, like, let go. Any kind of movement practice is really good too for women, just to get, instead of being, like, up in your head all the time with all the to-do lists and stuff for kids, to really, like, drop down into your body more into your womb, where, like, the second chakra area, that's where you create life. That's your creative center. So things like S factor, or pole dancing, or belly dancing, like, really, really, really powerful stuff for women. And some of the most powerful women that I know, I've even asked them, like, how are you so badass? It's like there's something about you that, like, you're just glowing. And I'm like, oh yeah, I take pole dancing class, or I've been belly dancing for 6 years. Just that complete command of body, and that sensuality in that they put into, like, every moment. So if you just heard me say pole dancing or belly dancing, and you judged it and thought that was dumb, or think that's something like that dumb slutty girls do, like, there's probably some work around that. And like, why would you not want to be, like, just a sexy, radiant goddess? Like, why not, right? It's everything in life is choice. That's the beauty of free will. So, like, anything that you're judging or rejecting that's probably some work that you need to do. So
Yeah.
So get on that pole.
Yeah, there you go. Wait, did I ask you if you know Lauren Sheehan? She lives in Austin.
Yeah. Lauren's great. Lauren's
Yeah,
awesome.
she's. We met in San Diego a couple months ago, and we were actually partnered. We did a 3-day workshop together, and we co-led an exercise. And I knew when I saw her, I mean, she's just beautiful, and she has the jewelry, and her work is, I think it's called, like, Feminine Presence. And she's one of my contributors for the School of Inner Beauty, but she does what you talked about, these meditations she does, and these different practices. But I was so excited to get her as my partner, because I really saw that she was owning this energy that was alien to me. And what the exercise we ended up creating together was about unleashing whoever your like, your inner rock star is. Or and for me, it was Beyonce. Like, Beyonce was this woman who, she had this energy that I felt like I couldn't access. And so that was the assignment. And I took it on and started doing it. And it was it was maybe the most pivotal point in my transformation so far. And it's not an energy that I'm still accessing all the time, but I started dancing in my room. I started just, like, I would have these, like, what would Beyonce do moments, and just giving myself permission to put on that Beyonce energy probably more than, even as I'm telling this to you guys, I realize how much it's not my default if I'm out of sync to just go and put on whatever that Beyonce energy is. But that has been doing that work with Lauren and what she's brought to my life, and yeah, like really getting into my body and dancing and feeling. It's what allowed me to take that picture that you guys see on the Paleo Love and Transformation podcast page. But it's still scary. I don't really know exactly why, but it feels really good, and it's still really scary.
Yeah, because it's a new way of being, and and you've had this way of being for your entire life, and anything new is scary, but there's good fear, just like that butterflies in your stomach feeling like you're about to jump off a ledge, and that's what I go towards every day. And then there's bad fear, like when you're about to get mugged, or when you're like in an elevator with someone who's unsafe. Like it feels like just like revulsion, or like you're drinking spoiled milk, like that. Like that's like danger. That's your intuition or your subconscious. Like anytime that comes up in a relationship, or like a business partnership, like I trust my gut so much, and my body. Like my body is how I make all of my decisions. But that good fear that kind of feels like you're about to jump off a ledge, like that's just go towards that. Like that's because that's your next edge, and that's like the next step in your evolution.
That's really where if you talk about the cost benefit analysis, that's where you're going to get the biggest bang. Wow. I'm remembering that right now, that I need to keep those practices front and center for sure, and continue to go in that direction. I don't know how long this interview has been. I think it's a possibility it's been like 7 hours, but I still had so many more questions.
Let's go for pick the 2 questions that you really, really, really want to ask, and I'll stay on a bit extra, and your listeners will too.
Yeah. You guys better still be here. This is good. Of course you're still here. My listeners are good. They listen all the way through. Okay, so I had the question about, and this is also sort of for me, but I had the question: how do absent and abusive dads stunt the development of boys into men? I guess even from girls into women too. But I know a lot of people who have dealt with that. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So the absent father. So for a young man who grows up without a dad, like there's no there's nothing to pattern after, and all of your parenting comes from your mother, who wants to protect you, and who loves you more than anything, and just like wants to keep you safe. So when I look at men who've only been raised by their mother, they have more of a tendency to play it safe, and to have more of like that like nice guy syndrome, where they're not speaking their truth about their feelings, or their wants, or their desires, and they just like, there's literally no role model, or there's nothing to like pattern themselves after. So that's one thing. The abusive father, so the father who sort of like beats his son up, or tells him he's stupid, or tells him like, don't
always just diminishes in some way.
Yeah. Don't cry. I'll give you something to cry about. Those are the guys whose hearts are completely closed off. Like they haven't cried since they were 7 years old, and they're in a world of pain. And those are the guys that that I do heavy release work with. Those are the guys that, sort of coaching, therapy, men's group type work, just helps them kind of go into that pain, and to create a new story from it. And instead of hating your father, going back to the thing I said probably at the beginning of this podcast. Like how can you look at your dad with as much love and compassion as possible, and retell that story. And so instead of my dad was an abusive alcoholic, just horrible son of a bitch. It's like wow, it's like, while being as loving and compassionate, like my dad did the best he could. Like my dad had it way worse. His father was horrible to him, and he fathered in the only way that he knew how, and he died a very angry, sad man. And that question alone. So I want everyone to write it down. Like if you're in any kind of, if you're judging yourself for something, or if you hate someone in your life, like ask that question, like how can I be as loving and compassionate to my mother as possible, or to myself as possible when I was drinking a lot, or like when I was being sexually promiscuous. And like really huge, I mean, I ask that question, and a majority of the time it's like really huge emotional release, because people realize for the first time that, oh my gosh, I wasn't bad when I was, like, I wasn't a horrible person when I was like sleeping around and drinking all the time. Like I was just in so much pain, and that's what I did to fill this hole in my heart, or that's what I did to, like, keep myself from killing myself, or
Right.
to.
They were always doing the best we can with what we have. Yeah. So for myself, I would say, and I think this is true actually for a lot of people who have done personal development work, or who've been in spiritual communities where it's like forgiveness is just something that you do. But for me, it was the next level of that was actually that I was so quick to forgive and say, well, he did the best that he could, and almost, and really but still not, how do I say this? There's another piece to that, I think, where you acknowledge what happened to you, and you acknowledge that things were shitty because for me, I found that I was so quick to forgive and not necessarily make excuses, but because I knew it was the right thing to do, and because I know, if you don't forgive, it's like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die. I got the charge of that. But there was a piece where if I didn't really acknowledge the pain that he had caused me, and allowed myself to say, almost in a way like stand up for myself, and say, I wasn't treated right, and a little girl should not have that, and that wasn't okay. I don't know if I'm articulating that properly, but that was another piece that was really freeing for me. And I actually saw my stepdad just a couple months ago for the first time in several years, and it was really interesting because I was back as a different person. I was back in the water that I'd been swimming in my whole life. And was like, whoa. I had new love and appreciation for myself that I've actually turned out as well as I have, because that was the psychic, energetic water that I was raised in. And I had this new, and without making him bad or wrong or diminishing him, but to really just acknowledge that that was how it was, and it's okay to be upset about it. It's okay to grieve the childhood I didn't have. I don't know. There was something healing for me about that.
Yeah. There's, I think you're right. Like, I think you do have to acknowledge that, but once it's grieved, then let go of it. So, I see people sometimes, like we call them story fondlers, where they keep, they've told that story 100 times, and they like being the victim, and they're like, yeah, well, it's because I was raped when I was young, or yeah, I mean, it's because my dad beat me up, and that's why. So a question I ask people is like, well, like, how's that affecting you now? Or like, is your dad beating you up now? And it almost sounds cold, but like it sort of takes people out of that story, and they're like, no, like like my dad's actually really nice now. Like we have a good relationship. So
Yeah.
there is a danger of just like using that excuse um and using that as a way to like get love and validation of like oh like woe is me, here's my story, and here's how bad it was. And um
Yeah, I guess it's really different for different people because I went around for so many years not even acknowledging it
mhm,
that it was that 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 there was that was therapeutic. But I can even see, I'm thinking back to that now, the ways that you use that as a crutch,
mhm,
and it's not about that either. And I just want to say this last piece about it, since we are talking about the abusive parents, and this this has been really, this has actually been really healing for me this year. There's this concept of, you know, that we really do, that we choose our parents when we come into this life. And I think it was, have you, I don't know if you've read anything by Carolyn Mace,
mhm.
but she's a medical intuitive. She's got some really good stuff. Anatomy of the Spirit is one of her books. But that we truly, that we choose our parents because they would never be able to love us the way that we really need to love, so that we would leave, you know, so that, because we had to go out and chart our own path, because we had to like learn to be autonomous beings, and that our parents are truly never going to be able to give us that thing that we've always craved, just like our romantic partners will never be able to give us that. And that's part of the illusion of romantic relationship. And if you guys are interested, I just released a really great podcast on that. But I think it's been a really good reframing for me in any of my victim conversation of, my dad should have been this way, or if I would have had this kind of dad, then I would be different. But truly that he was the perfect person to raise me for exactly the lessons that I needed to learn to become an autonomous adult, and really to, and even, and then going further into my own spiritual relationship, my relationship with God, that's another story. But it's helped me to have this new level of respect and gratitude for him, because I asked for him to be exactly how he was. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty powerful for me. Anyway, um, I think that we should probably, I think that's probably enough.
All right. So what's your
Oh, but oh, you have a question.
no, you can go. It's your show.
Oh, well, I want you to be able to talk about this thing that you have just, that you are maybe not birthing, but just dating.
Yeah, so I just announced a conference, and it's called the Conference for Men, and it's going to be in April of next year. So April, the weekend of the 26th and 27th in San Diego,
Yay!
and it's going to be freaking awesome. It's going to be really. It's like everything, like all of my experience with all the teachers that I've worked with, and just thought leaders around sexuality and spirituality, and panels with like women on like what they really want, and panels with men of different ages, and it's gonna be awesome. I can say with utmost certainty, I haven't I haven't woken up at like 7 o'clock every morning and just like dove into work. Like I haven't had that feeling of like waking up and being so excited for something in a long time. And I've been working like 14, 15-hour days every day this week. So yeah, so it's the conference for men, theconferenceformen.com, which right now it's just a placeholder. You can get more information at my website, which is hrostoski.com. But if you're a man who's like really looking to go, deeper in this work and deeper on this journey of like really like mastering your relationships with your women and your work, and really even going into like what is it to be a man, then you should definitely be there.
So
And
is it for, you said men going deeper on the journey? Is it for men who have already done a considerable amount of work, or would men who are just beginning to get interested, would they be fish out of water?
no, I mean I think I would. there's definite benefits to all those men, and I've been at some workshops where like I by far have been the man who've done the like I've done the most work, and I just kind of serve the room, and I get a lot out of it just from like helping out and holding space for guys to do some heavy work, and we're going to go pretty deep, and that's sort of all I'll say about that. But it's also the community. So that's a huge reason why I'm doing this conference is I'm a nomad and I travel sort of all over the world and run my business from a laptop anywhere. And I'm very lucky in that I have dozens of really amazing guy friends in my life who I can go to and get really deep about stuff that really matters. But I've met a lot of guys just sort of all over the world who they've done a lot of like growth, whether that be financially of like, selling a startup or, building a business, or getting on this spiritual path. And like, they just kind of don't have friends anymore, and they've outgrown their high school and their college buddies, and they don't want to like go out to the bars and get drunk and go to strip clubs and just like watch sports. And, so I'm building that community of like really awesome guys who are committed to helping other guys become more awesome. And, that's one of my biggest intentions with the conference is just like giving men just this huge tribe of like other awesome guys to travel with, to talk to start men's groups with, just to have on their side, as they, go through this life. Because it's tough to be the only guy in a group of friends who like really gives a shit about, making a difference in the world or about growing. And that's my big intention to create the space.
I am so excited that you're doing this. We will leave all of the details and all of the links and everything below. Ladies, I know it's mostly ladies listening. Send your men to the men's conference. Any parting words? The last thing that you want to leave the listeners with to take with them on their journey. The little nugget that you want left chirping in their ear.
I love you, and I don't care what you do. And that's sort of how I show up in the world, is that just like show up as love, and like loving everyone and just accepting where they're at on their journey. And whether it's my partner or my dad or my brother, I can either judge the people around me and like wish something was different, or I can just say, hey, like, I love you and I don't care what you do, and I'm going to keep loving you because that's all I can do. So
awesome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you have not yet rated, reviewed, subscribed to Paleo Love and Transformation on iTunes, it makes a huge, huge, huge difference. You really have no idea. It's like how people find new things. The algorithms on iTunes is based upon the ratings and the reviews and the subscriptions. So just by taking those couple minutes to do that, you're helping to get these messages out into the world where they need to be. Ladies, I don't know when you'll be listening to this, but if the current School of Inner Beauty program has been closed or filled, we will have another one coming up again soon. So you can go to schoolofinnerbeauty.com to get more information about that. And find us on Facebook, Paleo Love and Transformation. I think that's all. Goodbye, everybody.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me, Camille. It was great.
You're welcome.